Chair calls the Stanley County Board of Education March 3, 2020 to order. I'd like to welcome everyone here tonight. Have the media with us here, Charles Kershaw with Snap, and I think that may be all. Okay. But anyway, we're glad to have all of you with us, and without further ado, the Chair recognizes Ms. Patty Crump for invocation and Pledge of Allegiance.
All right, I want to open our prayer with a verse from Paul's letter to Ephesians, chapter 4, 1 through 3. As a prisoner for the Lord, then, I urge you to live a life worthy of the calling you have received. Be completely humble and gentle. Be patient, bearing with one another in love. Make every effort to keep the unity of the Spirit through the bond of peace. Father, help us to posture ourselves in a position of submission to your Spirit so that we can clearly hear your voice. Help us to bend our own intentions to your will and give us as leaders ears for hearing. Let us see one another in the community as members of your family. And I pray your impressions will pierce the hearts of everyone, even those yet unaware of your goodness, so that we all will know better how to fellowship with one another in a way pleasing to you. Father, we thank you for your abundance, and I ask this, Lord, through your Son, Jesus Christ. Please stand.
Chair recognizes Dr. Jeff James for recognition.
I'll ask Dr. Ellis she would meet me at the podium and we'll recognize our countywide spelling bee winner.
Good evening. Just want to give you a recap. Our district spelling bee, we had approximately 11 rounds, and we had some awesome spellers, representatives from our schools. But our winner today is from West Stanley Middle School, and the winning word was duopoly. So I'm going to...
How do you spell that, please?
I hadn't even heard of the word. Very carefully. So we want to recognize Najee Hicks from West Stanley Middle School. Come. Thank you.
Ms. Fallon.
Tonight you'll hear our accolades from Richfield Elementary School. With me I have Ann Miller, our curriculum coach, and Bethany Bowers, one of our kindergarten teachers, and also she's a SIT member, team member. We've decided to do things a little bit differently than everybody else, so I invite you. Let me make sure that we're ready. We're good? Wait, I have to wait, okay. I'm waiting for the thumbs up, not the wait a minute. Thumbs up, okay.
Welcome to Richfield Elementary, home of the Roaring Tigers. Each staff member strives to provide a caring family atmosphere for our students. Daily, We provide rigorous lessons that richly fulfill all curious minds and best prepare them to become lifelong learners. We take pride in our vision and mission statements that state, to be your best, you have to roar. In other words, at Richfield, we live by the understanding that to be behaved, educated, successful tigers, you have to respect others in all ways, own your own mistakes, learn from them, act positively, and be responsible for yourself, your body, your mind, and your learning. At Richfield, we believe every child will be successful, and together with our families and our community, we will make this vision a reality. It is with great pride that I welcome you to take a closer look at Richfield Elementary.
As teachers, we use student data to plan daily instruction. By looking at individual scores, we are able to use flexible grouping to ensure that we are delivering instruction at every student's instructional level, providing them the support needed to be successful. This year, we have created data walls to track student progress. The students have learned to check the charts each time we complete an assessment to see if our scores have increased. Their natural competitiveness drives them to really work hard to make sure our graphs grow.
But my last learning test last week on OI and OY in the tricky woods, the goal of the learning woods was supposed to be 80% and I got 100.
All right.
And the goal for the fluency was supposed to be 45 and I got 57. And goal for the gymnastic was 3 or 4 correct and I got 3.
Awesome. So you're working hard?
My teacher and I have data chats about once every 2 weeks. They help me to know what I need to work on and what I am doing well. We talk about what I need to do, like take my time and go back and find evidence or show work. This helps me know how to improve. I like talking to my teacher one-on-one.
Twice weekly, Richfield educators participate in professional learning communities and grade level planning. Each week, teachers, and along with Richfield's curriculum coach and principal, focus on collaborative planning that dissects curriculum standards and uses timely data to drive instruction. Incorporating various teaching strategies and learning modalities inspire lesson plans and student engagement. When teachers are empowered with knowledge and supports, students will inevitably flourish as learners. At Richfield Elementary School, we are propelling students in the direction of academic and personal growth.
At Richfield, we strive for student growth. Quality education requires using a variety of teaching strategies. For example, in math and reading, we employ a combination of whole groups, small guided groups, as well as student-led independent opportunities. Our students take charge of their learning during hands-on activities, labs, and projects. Richfield students cooperatively work to grow as learners. Personalization of learning is enhanced by teacher-created, differentiated playlists. Technology incorporates multisensory strategies into education. Richfield teachers utilize formative and summative data to reinforce lessons. Student engagement and growth continue to be our primary focus. At Richfield Elementary, your student success matters.
Please continue to follow our journey to success at Richfield Elementary School. Be sure to check out our website at richfield.stanleycountyschools.org and follow us on Facebook. We strive to regularly inform and showcase all of the wonderful happenings inside and outside of our classrooms. Thank you for your interest in Richfield Elementary School. Together, with our families and our community, our students will roar. So I hope this helps you to know what we do every day at Richfield Elementary School, and we're just very happy that we can share that with you. Does anybody have any questions?
I just want to say, I think that was awesome.
Thank you.
That was awesome.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you guys for your
Thank you
time.
very much. You You have, in your packets, you have the minutes for February 4th regular meeting and the February 13th emergency call, or special call meeting. Are there any corrections or deletions or changes need to be made to the minutes? Hearing none, the minutes will stand approved as presented. Committee reports, Ms. Gibson, instructional. Facilities, Mr. Graves.
No report.
Finance, Mr. Chance.
No report at the moment. Mr. Chairman, we have not met yet, but we'll be getting things going shortly.
Okay, thank you. We hope the state will get it going shortly, too. Absolutely. Personnel, Ms. Watson.
No report.
Policy, Ms. Crump, you have a presentation.
Yes, I do. We met on February the 25th at 5 o'clock. Ryan from the committee was there, and Mr. Poole, you subbed in on that meeting. Thank you for that. We do have quite a few policies. If you'll just follow those along, everybody, you have them in your packets. There was, after we met, if you'll look at the new information that Hope has put in front of you for tuition for discretionary admissions, policy code 4135, and then 4150 school assignment, there were some changes that we made to that. It is a lot to go over. Most of these are recommended from the state. There's nothing, that we can really change on those. But those two that that we made some changes on, we did make them more for Stanley County schools. We also have one more in here that, if you will look over it, we made some changes. And it was on the volunteers and vetting our volunteers, school volunteers. That's policy code 5015. So over the next 30 days, as these are tabled, if you'll just take some extra time and look over those. Of course, if you want to make changes, if you'll let me know ahead of time, and we'll talk with Hope about that, we'll have to let that sit again for 30 days. So, but these did come all approved through the committee.
Thank you, Ms. Crump. Legislative Network, Dr. James, Ms. Gibson.
Chairman Poole, can I ask a quick question?
Yes, go ahead.
We have this pack of policies that will be tabled. Was this an additional set to be added to that?
Yeah, that,
was an amendment.
that's right.
Okay. All right, thanks.
That particular one you were talking about, changes were made
Right.
Okay.
beyond what was presented initially.
Correct.
Dr. James, do you have anything for that?
No, just no budget.
All right, you got curriculum instruction.
Summer testing, I asked Tim Hatley if he would approach and address that.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. We come to you this evening to ask board approval to implement a summer testing program as we did last summer. The state enables us to remediate and retest those students that fail to be proficient during our end-of-year testing process. This year, our suggestion is it follows very closely to last year. Since money is tight, we're trying to work within the scheduled professional days, so we won't have the additional cost of personnel. We'll have a little bit of cost for our travel and then child nutrition, because we do plan to, our general schedule for most of our schools, our elementaries, middles, and traditional high schools, will be that as soon as they test, we will start remediation during the school year. And then that Thursday, after our last day of school was on Wednesday, June the 10th, on that Thursday, June the 11th, we will remediate from 8:30 to 2 is our proposal. We'll run transportation, feed them breakfast, feed them lunch, remediate the entire day, and then bring them back Friday, June the 12th, and feed them breakfast, and then test them, and then go home at 12 o'clock. So that's our plan, like I said, for our traditional schools. The early college, since they're on a little bit different schedule, We have a separate plan for them. Their last day for students is Wednesday, May the 21st. We will remediate. Their schedule's different. They test a little bit different, so we can actually remediate during their last couple days while they're enrolled, and then that first sheltered professional day, we will retest. Last year, we only retested 2 students there, so that would be very low. Our traditional schools last year, we actually retested 589 students, with 196 of them becoming proficient, so 33% of those. So we got a great bump out of this retesting. So we just need board approval so that we can submit our plan to DPI by April 1st.
Mr. Chairman, make a motion that we allow the summer retesting program.
Motion by Mr. Chance to allow for the summer retesting program. I guess that's an application you're doing to the state, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconds from 2 directions. Any discussion? Any questions? If not, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I'm just curious, Mr. Hatley, how's the testing or remediation this year, the end of school year, work for our 3rd graders? Is there a change? Well, is there a change with the 3rd grade as far as, has the state said they will be held back?
Well, actually, this program will not cover the reading for 3rd grade. I should have pointed that out.
Okay.
It's 3rd grade math, well, it's actually 3rd through 8th math, and then 4th through 8th reading language arts.
Okay.
And then math 1, math 3, and biology at the high schools. The reading falls still under Read to Achieve legislation.
Right.
And as far as I know, we still haven't got clear instructions on that, or at least not through the accountability department.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, no.
Thank you, sir.
Montessori update.
Lynn Plummer will be doing that for us, Chairman Poole.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, for listening to us last month about Montessori. Since last meeting, we have had a second parent interest meeting. It brought out some people that we had not seen before. We put out an intent to enroll form just to kind of get an idea of real numbers of parents who are definitely interested. And in turn, we have also kind of opened up our mind to the idea of adding some pre-K numbers to that also, simply because pre-K and kindergarten are considered the same program in the same classroom with Montessori. So we thought that would help to build that program a little bit and also help us to sustain that for the future. Those pre-K kids would roll over into kindergarten as the future comes about down the road. Right now, we have 14 parents that have signed that intent to enroll that are ready to move forward. That includes a couple pre-K kids, but the vast majority is kindergarten. I do have a couple more parents who are interested in coming and meeting one-on-one, having some conversations before moving forward. We are sending a team to a Montessori coaching academy professional development at the end of this week, just so that we can wrap our minds around a little better what we need to have in place. And moving forward, we want to meet with those parents who have already shown that interest, get them to enroll students in the program in Stanley County schools, and then start developing a plan for what is this going to look like? What does this mean for us? So we are excited to have that interest growing around that, and then hopefully within the next couple weeks we can get it solidified and have those kids enrolled with us. Questions?
Any questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Mr. Plummer, have we set a cutoff as to how many students we're looking at that we can feasibly incorporate into the program? Is there going to be a specified minimum, maximum?
Well, all along, we have really talking back and forth, talking with Park Road, talking with the training facility, they've told us to really look between 15 and 20 would be ideal, keeping in mind that as those kindergartners become first graders, become second graders, all of those kids are in the same classroom together, first, second, third grade, one classroom. So we don't want it to be too overly populated. Otherwise, we need a room this size to get 60 kids in every day. So we are trying to think about space limitations and capacity, what that would look like. And we are getting right there at where we'd like to be as far as that goes.
The pre-K, now, is that going to like be the guidelines for the pre-K that works through the partnership with?
Because it's not an NC pre-K, it's Montessori. It's
Okay.
not all those same stipulations and guidelines that we've gone through
Right.
before and talked about, and because it is a public pre-K, and outside of that program, we do have the opportunity to charge for that part of it, and we have explained that with those pre-K parents. If they were to go to a private pre-K, it'd be no different than coming to us and putting that same money out for that education.
Okay, so I'm just thinking I've got a little one.
I can get you a form tonight.
Okay. Well, who would be the pre-K? Maybe I just need to talk with you later about cost and all that,
That
since
works.
it's kind of a private thing.
We can do that.
Okay.
That works.
Any other questions? Okay,
All
thank
right.
you.
Thank you.
Ms. Vicki Calvert.
Chairman Poole, members of the board, if you'll refer to the personnel agenda, Section 1 requires no action, but Section 2 does require action.
I think we need to eliminate that second one from the top, from the menu there.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. I apologize.
No, you're fine. So Section 2 does require action.
I move we approve Section 2.
Motion by Ms. Gibson to approve Section 2. Do we have a second? Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Ms. Harvey.
Chairman Poole, members of the board, we have a couple items tonight in your information. The first one is the resolution requesting transfer of county appropriation from the capital outlay fund to our current expense fund. And just to briefly explain, the state has not passed a budget. In that budget, we were expecting funding for our STEM early college. Because the state budget has not passed, we did not get those funds yet. So we are requesting that $500,000 from our capital outlay fund to transfer to our general expense fund. So I'm looking for an approval on the resolution to take it to the county commissioners for approval.
I have a motion to approve the amendment as presented. Is it okay with the board if the chair foregoes reading all that? Thank you. Do we have a second? Have a second. Those in favor, any discussion?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
Did you say $500,000? Okay,
Did you not get the data?
Oh, I must not have. I'm sorry. Hope you probably gave it to me. It's probably in my
It's on,
back page.
it's on the back of that.
Oh, is it?
With the additional.
Apologize. The one I had in front of me had 300,000. Oh, here we go. Sorry.
Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries.
The second item is a resolution requesting state appropriation for the continued operation of Stanley Early College, Stanley STEM Early College. And this is for the Board of Education to request local legislative delegation to introduce a local bill in the beginning of the short session that will provide us with that funding.
Does anyone want to move that we approve that? Thank you. Motion by Mr. Chance. Do we have a second? Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed, no. Motion carries.
The next item is budget amendments 3, 4, and 5. Budget Amendment 3 covers our state revised allotments. Budget Amendment 4 is the fund balance transfer from our capital outlay fund to our general expense fund based on contingent on county approval. And Budget Amendment 5 is general fund balance of $400,000 to instructional services.
The Chair has a question on Budget Amendment 4. I'm assuming if the state ever passes their budget, that will be channeled back to us to go back into that fund. Is that correct?
That would be
That'd be our hope and prayer.
That would be our hope.
Okay. Does anyone want to make a motion on any of these?
Move to approve budget amendments 3, 4, and 5.
Motion by Mr. McIntyre to approve budgets 3, budget 4, and budget 5, amendment 5, sorry. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Ms. Crump, any discussion or anyone got any questions? Yes, go ahead. Absolutely. Anyone else have anything? If not, those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Find my agenda again. Here we go. We have no one signed up for public comments, so Superintendent Comments.
I'll keep them short. Do want to recognize this is National School Breakfast Week, March the 2nd through the 6th. It's also National School Social Worker Week, again, March 2nd through the 6th. So we thank those individuals for the hard work they do each day, of course, with our child nutrition program, feeding our students, and with our social workers, providing additional whole child learning supports that are so much needed in our current society, unfortunately. And just a tidbit on the lack of a budget. Those of us that are rural counties in the state of North Carolina, about 80 of us, counting so far, this has put a huge damper on fund balances, and any fund balance that we have put aside is going to be consumed with the lack of a state budget, because each year the state appropriates a two-year budget process. And we're told how much we can plan on the second year of that budget. In there was increases for instructional personnel, et cetera. So when we plan a budget, we have to plan that the state's going to come through with what they've promised us. So, of course, we hired additional personnel, et cetera. So that being said, we are thinking probably $1 to $1.2 million out of the local fund balance, which, of course, some of that is protected that we can't tap into, so the need, of course, to move some money out of capital. So we may be coming back to the well again, but we're diligently looking at numbers and working daily to find ways to make sure we end the year on a good note. Next year, providing we get a budget, will be a much better year. Just in transportation cost alone, we'll have one of the highest efficiency ratings we have seen. It'll be at 99.8%. And I just reviewed some data across the state. So that will help us stop pulling money out of local fund balance to support transportation. Also, I gave you some good news that for the first time in quite a while, child nutrition is up to almost 2 months of cash balance. They're required by law to carry a month, and we cannot pull indirect cost unless they have more than a month of fund balance. They cannot carry more than 3 months. So there's an area between there that we purchase equipment and improve our cafeterias with as we become profitable. So a lot of work being done in those two areas to save us money. Next year, we'll be in much better financial shape, providing we get a budget from the state. Again, it's a hardship for rural counties because we depend so much on that state budget. We don't have the tax base of the 20 counties that are not economically depressed.
I know that, like, we don't have the state budget, but I've been reading where the federal, like rural counties, have been cut with some federal monies as well next year. Like, do we fall in that rural county?
Well, we actually received RLIS funds, and Susan told me last year we lost those funds. And again, it's certain criteria that you meet for the federal government under poverty levels or free and reduced lunch. And the county had economic growth to the point it pulled us out of the RLIS pool. There is another supplemental fund for small counties, but we don't qualify for it because of our ADM. So yes, we're losing money on both ends, both federal and, of course, not having a state budget. We'll see where Leandro takes us. I know that Judge Lee is going to present to the General Assembly when they come back on April 28th. I'm not sure what day it is. I don't think it's the first day, but the General Assembly has called him in to talk about the Leandro case. And of course, if you kept up with that, Leandro is saying we're $1 billion a year short in funding. I will tell you this, a local politician, won't mention names, I've been saying we have about a $1 billion surplus and we can't get us a education budget. But actually, it's more like $3 billion that we have that is not tied to any particular debt that the state owes. And so it makes the problem even worse when we do not have an education budget, knowing that the state has plenty of money to provide us an education budget. And it's going to come down to people voting in a General Assembly that's supportive of public education. And that's what it comes to. We have done everything, well, we haven't. People have done everything possible to completely cut off education. We stopped the master's pay, so what we've done is dried up the pool of people that got their MSA, which is a master's in school administration. We used to interview for principals and get 25 to 30 applicants per position. Now we're lucky to get 4 or 5 because we completely dried up that pool by doing away with the 10% master's pay. You could get your MSA and still teach in the classroom and get the 10%. So we also hurt colleges when we done that because it destroyed their programs that offered MSAs, and we've discouraged a lot of young people from going into the teaching profession. And now there's a shortfall. It's projected to be 250,000 teachers in the next 3 to 5 years. So whether we like virtual or not, it's coming a lot quicker than we think because we're going to have a hard time finding the human body.
Okay, board member comments. Ms. Watson.
No comment.
Mr. Chance. Ms. Gibson.
Not Nija, did I pronounce that right? Nija. Okay, I'm sorry. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
And what was that word again?
Duopoly.
How do you spell that?
Duopoly.
Wow. What does it mean?
It's when two corporations control the entire market of something.
Wow. We need you in charge of a lot of stuff, I can tell. Congratulations to you and West Stanley Middle School. Miss Fallon and your staff, others, that was wonderful. I really enjoyed that and all. And our school's so great. I've enjoyed all these accolades. It's remarkable to see everything that's going on. For our national social workers, I appreciate everything that they do. I wish we had the money, Dr. James, to have even more of them. And I was thinking, I read that maybe it was also National Music Teachers or Educators Week or something, so I wanted to give a shout out to all of our music teachers as well. That's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. McIntyre. I'll come back to you, Ms. Crump.
Congratulations, Najee.
Thank you.
It's fantastic. I really enjoyed that presentation as well. Ms. Fallon, I know y'all are doing some wonderful things out there. I enjoyed coming out there last year to read, and I need to get by this year. I did have an opportunity Monday to visit Norwood Elementary School and read to 2 classes there, and I got a tour around the entire school. That's where I went to elementary school myself, and it was great to be able to walk those walls and see all of the wonderful changes that had gone there. And there were some things that had not changed, and nostalgia started creeping in. It was a great day, and you're never short of hugs when you go to an elementary school. I recommend it for everyone to go and read. They have some incredible things going on as well. One thing that I really like is that you highlighted this in your video, that you're sitting down with the students and you're going through the data, and they're telling you their goals, and they're reading that back as well and how far they've come. I really like that engagement, and I learned that they're doing that at Norwood as well, and my suspicions are at other elementary schools. I feel like I sit here with an elephant in the room right now. There are things that I would really like to say, and I'm going to be prayerful. Our society is broken in many ways, and tonight should be a celebration as we move forward in a primary. New leaders are going to be put to the test between now and November, and it will be a crucible type test. It sure has been over the last few weeks I've seen. I've been praying for you, Chairman Chairman Poole and Vice Chairman McIntyre. I do hope that you make it through and you'll have 4 more years of tenure, and I thank you for your service. It's been quite a pleasure.
Thank you, Mr. Crump. You ready to go? Okay. Mr. McIntyre.
Sorry. It's been a rough week. But I've asked myself a lot of times over the past few weeks, I don't even know why I do it. Like, why don't I put myself through it? My wife's asked me. It's been rough. But yesterday, I mean, I saw exactly why I do it when I walked into Aquadale Elementary, and my son, well, I had my son and daughter. My daughter's in pajamas. She didn't just wake up. She had pajama day at preschool. So I wasn't the bad dad that didn't get her dressed. But my son was going to Aquadale for speech, and he's running all over the place, and he runs into the library, and Joy comes out and asks him if he wants a tour of the school. Of course, he runs the other way and hides. He's just shy. But then we went down to the pre-K program, and Miss Kurtz he had a 30-minute session and had a new buddy that day. And Nolan's shy around new people, so he was struggling. She said he didn't really want to talk at all, but after that session, the girl that was in the class with him, she's like, "Do you want her to come back?" And he's like, "Yeah." And even though he didn't talk at all while he was in there. And then she just proceeded to stay in the hallway with Nolan for about 15 or 20 minutes, doing his entire session over with him again. And he's jumped. My son don't talk. I mean, he tries to talk, but he stumbles over his words, and he's sitting there jumping, saying words in the middle of the hallway just because talking's becoming fun, because he's learning how to say stuff. And just seeing that reminds me of why I do this. Seeing all the hard work put in by our teachers and our principals and the central office reminds me of why I do this. And again, I apologize for getting emotional, and seeing this young man be our county spelling bee winner reminds me of why I do this. So I appreciate everybody on the board. I appreciate everybody in Stanley County. I appreciate everybody here tonight and everybody in our school system. And thank you for all you do and the trust that you've instilled in us in the last 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McIntyre. Mr. Graves.
Thank you, Chairman Poole. First, I want to start out by thanking Najee. That is, it's always impressive, anytime anyone wins a spelling bee, but you are a very impressive young man, and I am excited to see where you go as you go through high school and into the future. I know you're going to be very successful, so congratulations, and thank you for making us all feel a little bit better. It's always good to see smart kids, and it gives us hope for the future, because it only takes one person to have a big impact on a lot of people. So I know you're going to do that in the future. You'll have a big positive impact on everyone you come in contact with. So congratulations. Hard work pays off, trust me. Let's see, I also want to recognize Georgia Harvey, who was one of the people who's resigning at the end of the month. And I'm sure we're going to do something next month more appropriate, but she has been a member of Stanley County Schools Administration for many, many, many years. And if you drive through the parking lot, you'll see her car out there at all hours of the night. I didn't say day, but all hours of the night. She is an example. She's not the exception. Although she is exceptional, we have so many people like Georgia, but it's always difficult to lose someone that's as dedicated as she is to the school system. If we're lucky, we can find somebody that comes as close to being as dedicated to Stanley County schools as she has been over the years. And I know Melvin probably has a lot more to say, and we'll save it for next month. But we wish you the best, and we thank you for all the hard work that you've put in. It doesn't go unrecognized by certainly the school boards and the faculty and staff of the school system. You know, being an employee in the school system is a lot like being a police officer or a firefighter or a soldier. There's one of the many other thankless jobs out there. You know, you never get the recognition that you deserve, but you don't do it for recognition. None of us do it for the recognition. So, but it is nice to be recognized by your peers and, know that we see it. And that's all that really matters at the end of the day. So thank you. Let's see. I was really excited. I always love to hear great stats coming out of the school system with our transportation efficiency rating. Lots of times we have discussions about things like transportation. And by the way, God bless you guys for hanging out. You're the first student to actually sit through a meeting after receiving an award. So you need an award for that. I was going to mention that too. So thank you. You're a trooper. But we talk about things, and sometimes the results they're not readily visible until maybe 6 months or a year down the road. And so we had this big controversy of going to staggered starts. And the reason why we were doing that was not because the school system decided they just wanted to upend everybody's life. They didn't have anything better to do, but we had a real challenge facing the school system, and that was a shortage of bus drivers. And after a lot of deliberation, it was determined that we would go with the staggered starts to help alleviate the problem. And as a byproduct, not only would we have more full-time bus drivers and eliminate the shortage or significantly reduce it, we would also, as Dr. James mentioned, we would have a higher efficiency rating, which meant that we got more money from the state. That more money from the state means that that money doesn't have to come out of the local taxpayers' pockets. I only mention this because, unfortunately, a lot of people online, they only pay attention for like 1 month out of the year, and it's like you hope it's 1 month where there aren't any controversies, but they never pay attention to the long-term effects of all these decisions that get made. So I was proud and happy to be part of that decision, moving to the staggered start, and it's certainly going to help out the school system in the long run. The other thing I want to mention too is when I came on board, we had a shift in some of the staffing in the central office. A new individual came and took over the child nutrition department, and we've made tremendous progress there. And the thing that I've often said is that it comes down to leadership and competence. I don't care what anybody says, the school system is a business. It's a business that's responsible for producing the most important product in the world, which is educated students, but it's a business. And so when you have leadership and you have competent people in positions of responsibility who are held accountable, you can see results, and you should expect to see the results like we've seen here in the school system. And we're lucky because you don't always get all the talented people together at one time like we have in the school system right now. Just like with the Montessori program that we're investigating right now, we have all these different people of different talents coming in together to help improve the school system. So thank you guys for that. It's great to hear. Last, I was going to mention two things. I'm only going to mention one, partly because after the invocation and partly because Nigel is going to save a lot of people from hearing some grief tonight, so because he hung out. So, but I did want to point something out, and that is there's been some confusion recently. There's been some confusion about Ridgecrest and the tuition waiver that the board approved. And I just have a quick question, maybe Dr. James or Chairman Poole. When we voted as a board to waive the tuition for 1 year to see what type of impact that might have on attracting students to Stanley County, was that a unanimous vote? Do you remember? Do you recall? Anyone? I think it was. Hope? Was not unanimous? Okay. Okay, I was just curious about that, but thank you for pointing that out. The reason I'm asking is because there's been some confusion. An individual in the community posted something about the school board, and I'm going to tone this down, but basically being confused or disingenuous. I won't read what they wrote because of present company. But basically there was some confusion about if we were considering opening up Ridgecrest, and we are considering opening up Ridgecrest, and the superintendent was asked by the school board to evaluate the various uses, potential uses for the school system. We've had workshops about this. It's nothing new for people on the internet. Facebook, it probably is because they don't pay attention, except to a few people that cause trouble. But we've been talking about this now for a while because Ridgecrest School, if you don't use it, it could revert back to the original landowners. If you don't use a building, it can get run down, which ultimately is wasting the taxpayers' money. Whole host of reasons. But then when you look at the fact that we're facing a potential classroom shortage due to state mandated minimum classroom sizes, And when you look at the capacities of Locust Elementary School and Stanfield Elementary School, and the fact that Oakboro has been reopened as a choice school, which potentially could even have Montessori, and Millingport is at max capacity, and you don't have too many options if the current trends continue, and that is we have more home building in the western end of the county. You can't open up another school in Baden, who also is getting close to being maxed out, to take the kids from Locust. If the kids live in Locust, we're not going to bus them to New Salem or to Wake County. We're going to try and keep them in Locust. So there's been some discussion, and one of the considerations was potentially opening up as an elementary school, one of the considerations. But again, this isn't anything new. But this question about the tuition being waived, I thought it was really interesting because an argument was being made tying the two together. And part of the reason behind Common Core, and I think sometimes Common Core does get a bad rap, because the theory behind Common Core is that it causes you to think about what you're doing. And I think we need some Common Core for adults as well, because you see, the way that the program works in Stanley County, and Dr. James, please correct me if I get any of this wrong, students from outside of Stanley County, parents can request that their students come and attend a school in Stanley County. It could be because the family member works here, a caregiver, lives in Stanley County, a whole host of reasons, up to and including maybe we have a program that the student is really interested in, and we've got a growing program like our STEM program at the elementary school and the high school levels, or maybe we have some CTE programs that have phenomenal instructors, and those parents want to be able to take advantage of that. Up until today, a family member, anyone, as long as they get permission from their host county, can request a transfer into another county. And so those requests come in, and they are looked at by the central office, and if they meet certain criteria, then they're brought before the board for approval. Up until now, that also came with a price tag, and the reason behind that was that even though when a student comes into the county, the host county loses the state money for that student, and we would gain the state money for the student. The concern would be that if we got so many students coming in, that state taxpayer money only covers so much, and that the local taxpayers may have to make up the difference for things like school maintenance, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Considering the state owes the county so much money, I don't really think that's a concern now. But one of the interesting things is that this correlation between Ridgecrest, and it's like saying, well, wait a second, first we need more classroom space, so we're going to open up an elementary school, but at the same time we're dropping tuition, which would presumably attract students to Stanley County schools, which is what we want. That's one of the reasons why the people that voted for the one-year tuition waiver as a test to see what the results would be voted for it. I'm guessing that's why I voted for it. That's why some of the other board members I know voted for it. But see, what this individual fails to think about is that if we were to have 50 or 60 elementary age children request to come in to Stanley County next year, and they were all going to be coming from Cabarrus County, just outside of Locust, the school system is going to tell them, we can't accommodate you. We might be able to accommodate 5 or 10, but they have to look down the road. How many children does the family have? If it's a third grader now and they have a rising kindergartner, is there going to be enough room to allow these students to come in? If the child's coming in from Montgomery County and they might go to Norwood, or if they're coming in from another part of another county where they're in the north or the east and go to Baden, there might be room at some of those schools to accommodate more students. So it's almost as if every single request would be honored. And I just found that interesting, that they don't recognize that there's basic rules that govern the operation of the school system, including things like the basic common sense of not bringing in more students in a particular school than you can accommodate. So I wanted to throw that out. There was a lot of controversy stirred by that on the internet, and apparently people were confused. So I wanted to put their minds at ease. Don't worry, the school system is not going to do anything like that. Dr. James is too smart for that. And I can't imagine a school board approving something where it would put the school system in an awkward position like that. So last but not least, I'm just going to say that I will reserve to bring out my darker side in the future if people on this board keep getting treated like they are on social media, because I don't have a problem being a bad guy. Thank you.
Is that the reason you're dressed in black?
Always.
My congratulations to the Spelling Bee winner, and I always look up to the Spelling Bee winners because I finished second in my county in the 8th grade. So my hat's off to the winner always.
Thank you.
Just want to point out something in the minutes here. I think you asked about the motion on Ridgecrest School. Just make board members aware of this. You should, most of you have been here 3 or 4 years. You should know this. The minutes will record that the board approves something. If you want your no vote recorded, you have to expressly signify that. Otherwise, if you look at the minutes, it's a unanimous vote. So just be aware of that in the future. If you do vote no and you want your no vote recorded as such, you need to specify it at that point in time. I don't know if I have enough words to thank Ms. Harvey for her service or not, but and I don't want to get into things because I might start crying, because we've had a real good relationship, and I'm gonna make her cry probably because I miss her husband too. Her husband and I used to drink a lot of coffee together, and he gave me some very valuable insights into life, and so I'm gonna have to miss both of you now, it looks like. But anyway, we thank you very much for your service, and every role that we have placed you in, you have carried it out in a very professional manner. And even though it might not have been, things might not have been going the way you wanted, you always kept a stiff upper lip and had the right attitude, and it was always take one for the team, and that means a lot to me. And I just can't say enough about you. Thank you much. Our next meeting will be the 7th of April in the Commons Meeting Room at 7 o'clock. Do we have a motion to go into closed session under personnel matters under North Carolina General Statutes 143.318.11A6 and Student Matters North Carolina General Statute 143.318.11A1 and Attorney-Client Matters North Carolina General Statutes 143.318.11A3?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. McIntyre. Do we have a second? Second, Ms. Watson. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Chair will declare a 5-minute recess en route.